You are who you are in crisis when you don't get your own way. So Aaron Rodgers, very interesting. So Russell Wilson is having the worst 7-game stretch in his career. What has he done? Mr. Optimistic. We're going to get it solved. We'll figure it out. That's Russell Wilson. Tom Brady is having the worst 7-game stretch in his career. Yesterday in this podcast, I'm not quitting. I love my guys. We'll figure it out. I'm not considering retirement. I love my coaches. I love my teammates. Aaron Rodgers is having the worst 7-game stretch perhaps in his career. What did Aaron say? He went in a YouTube show and called out his coach and called out his teammates. I think guys are making too many mistakes. They shouldn't be playing. I got to start cutting some reps on those guys, and maybe those guys shouldn't be playing. Give other guys a chance. So saying that publicly is not only a shot at those players, and they all know in that locker room who he's talking about. So you're calling out young guys. It's also calling out Matt LaFleur. What it's basically saying is our coach doesn't even know who to put in the game. If I said publicly, hey, man, there's too many mistakes on Herdline News. Somebody else deserves more reps. That wouldn't just be a criticism of Jason. It would be a criticism of my bosses who can't watch the show, figure it out, and make moves. So I'm going to call them out so they'll do it. By the way, this is the second shot at Matt LaFleur in a month. And did you notice with this comment? Once again with Aaron, it's their fault. It's them. They've got to figure it out. They're not doing it. Aaron Rodgers has been in this league for 15 years, and he still can't figure out the leadership thing. Mahomes figured it out in 1 year. Brady in a year. Peyton Manning in a year. What does leadership look like? It's okay to bark at a coach or a teammate on the sideline. Manning's done it. Mahomes has done it. Brady's done it. That's conflict resolution. That's not passive-aggressive. That is confronting something. You're mad. He and Eric Bieniemy, Mahomes. Next day, you're all good. Aaron doesn't do that. It's all passive-aggressive. It's going on shows instead of confronting a coach in the office. It's falling on the sword. That's what leadership looks like. You know, the old Eli Manning story. After losses, he was always available to the press. After wins, he let his teammates talk. That's what leadership looks like. Leadership is keeping drama out of the press, not inserting it into the press. 15 years. He hadn't figured it out. In fact, the eye roll with Aaron Rodgers now is his signature move. It used to be discount double check. His signature move now is the eye roll. We get it weekly. And I'm not saying Green Bay's front office doesn't have some responsibility in this. I have said that for years. Stop drafting defensive guys in the first round. Get left tackles, get centers, get wide receivers. But I have singularly, for 10 years as a national sportscaster, in the last 10 years, 15 years of Aaron, I have singularly been the person that has said, we all want to blame the front office. Some of this is Aaron Rodgers. Some of it is. So I think it's fascinating. Alcohol and crisis. Show me who you are. Russell Wilson, worst 7 games. We're going to fix it. Brady, worst 7 games. Going to a podcast yesterday. Brady's reaction is, I love my teammates. I love them. I'm doubling down on these guys. Aaron Rodgers, we got to cut reps. Got to get these guys off the field. A shot at teammates, a shot at LaFleur. This is who he is. When Aaron doesn't get his own way, they figure it out. They've got to do that. That is not leadership. So when you all were telling me for years and years, the GOAT isn't Brady, it's Aaron Rodgers, it's like, oh, you don't get football. You don't get sports. It's not just talent. Melo had talent. Westbrook's got talent. LeBron gets leadership. Michael Jordan got leadership. Magic Johnson got leadership. All right, how about this? Nathaniel Hackett, coach of Denver, quote, job could be on the line. According to Dan Graziano, I know Dan, he's excellent, reporter at ESPN. He could be out of a job if he does not beat the Jaguars this weekend. I think that's the London game. By the way, this is exactly the right move This is exactly what you do. You pivot off mistakes. USC tried to convince themselves for 7-8 years Clay Helton was the right coach. You could tell by about year 2 he wasn't. In week 1, you and I sat there and watched the return by Russell Wilson to Seattle. You knew and I knew. You knew. He didn't know what he was doing. He had no idea what he was doing. Go back and look at that. YouTube it. He had no idea what he was doing. He's not a head coach. He's a coordinator. They had to literally, by week 2 or 3, hire somebody in clock management. I mean, how many coaches you got to hire to fix his issues? The NFL is like every industry. 5 to 7% are great, and that's it. We got about 6 great quarterbacks, maybe fewer. We got about 6 or 7 really, really, really good coaches. Matt LaFleur's not one of them, by the way. Stop saying that. Russell Wilson is not washed. How do I know? Because in the history of American sports, let's just stick to football to simplify it, or basketball. Nobody goes from really, really good, really, really good, really, really good, really, really good 4 years in a row to terrible without drug use or an injury. Now, by the way, Russell Wilson is banged up. That could be some of it. He's not washed. If you were a great salesperson, and a lot of people listening to me now are driving around cars in America. They're listening to me on Sirius XM. They're listening to me on Premier Radio, Fox Sports Radio. And for 4 years, you are a B+ to an A- salesperson. You're really good at what you do. And then in the 5th year, you're not only bad, you're the worst in your region. There's 2 things. Either you got a new boss and he sucks, or the product you're selling stinks. You don't go from really, 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 really good without drugs or an injury in sports and go and become the worst player at your position in the league. It's coaching. I'm not saying Russ isn't responsible. His deep ball isn't as accurate. But, folks, Oklahoma football. Brett Venables is a whiff. Move off it. Urban Meyer Jags, whiff. Move off it. Steve Wilkes, Arizona, whiff. Move off it. Freddie Kitchens, move off it. It's not the end of the world. I mean, Nathaniel Hackett, there's reasons he got the job. Number one, his dad was a coach. So we look at that and think, oh, he came from a football family. That's very powerful. So did Kyle Shanahan. That's very powerful. It often means you're a good coach. Your dad coached. He was in Green Bay, prolific offense with Aaron Rodgers, right? So people go, oh, that's pretty good. And by the way, Luke Getsy was in Green Bay as one of those coordinator guys. He went to Chicago. He looks really good. So people have left Green Bay and been really good. So it's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean he can't coach football, can't be a coordinator, can't make a great living. And there's reasons they hired him. Dad was a successful coach at multiple levels. He came from a very foundationally strong, historically strong offense. You know, MVP Aaron Rodgers back-to-back years. I get the hire. But you don't double down on wrong. Pivot off it fast. I mean, I looked at Denver this season. I looked at their NFL rankings offensively. They're not only bad, they're last in everything. You really think Russell Wilson's the worst quarterback in the league? By far. Really, that's what you think? After 4 very good years. Come on now. Even the mild-mannered Mark Schlereth, who lives in Denver, went off last week on the current culture in the Mile High City.
I had my annual physical yesterday, and my prostate exam was more pleasurable than watching the Broncos play offense. When you play offensive line, you're forced to be tough, right? Because you're going to get a mouthful on every single play. You get to choose whether to be dominant as a wide receiver. You get to choose whether you want to do the dirty work or not. You get to choose whether you want to make a great block or not. They're choosing not to. They're choosing to be soft. And from a coaching standpoint, Nathaniel Hackett, and listen, I like Nathaniel Hackett a lot, but you're either coaching that or you're allowing it to happen.
So the story today, Nathaniel Hackett could be coaching for his job in London this week. For the record, I like the Jags. Not that that matters, but I like the Jags in that game. And I know y'all think I love Russell Wilson. You don't go from very good years to the worst player in the league at your position without somebody pulling you down. Maybe I overestimate how good he is. He's not that. He's not that. There is no precedent in sports for that. You don't go, you're not a 24-game winner in baseball, a 23-game winner, a 24-game winner at 23. You're then you're the worst pitcher in the sport. You either have a rotator cuff issue, you had Tommy John, or they don't know how to use you. There's got to be a reason for stuff. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.